Montpellier, on est prêt ou pas? This is the party, and this is the FISE.
It's the FISE! Even though the contest looks crazy on TV.
Welcome everyone. I am delighted to welcome you here for the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Men's Final. I am here with Daryl now. Daryl, how's it going?
Who's ready to beat our rider?
I am not sure if Daryl can hear me, but I am certainly here live from Montpellier. We are ready to witness some madness on the BMX park. This is going to be absolutely insane. And yes, you heard me right. I did say final because yesterday we had a lot of rain. We have rain forecasted for tomorrow, but as you can see on your screens, it is big sunshine right now, so we are taking this opportunity to run the competition. We have all our 24 riders lined up on the park, and this is going to be a different final because we're going to have those 24 riders in 4 heats of 6, 2 runs of 60 seconds per rider, and the best run counts. So same format as the final. Here you are, Daryl. I am so happy to hear you. Daryl is remote. He is in the US. This is why you couldn't see him. You can hear him. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the judging criteria, Daryl.
Thank you so much, Dom. This is so exciting for all of our riders here getting ready to take the course. This is such a unique designed course where the riders are going to want to put in not only the variety of tricks, but big tricks and utilize that course. We could take a look right now and see our judges. These are industry icons, all riders themselves. We have our head judge, Dave Henk Kleeworth. We also have Marcus Vilke from Germany, Axel Jurgens from Argentina, Luka Kovic from Slovenia, Christy Hughes from Great Britain, and we have Poki from Croatia. They are going to be looking at the riders on the course, giving them a score from 0 to 100. They want to see their unique approach out there and the way they're able to put the tricks together on this beautifully designed Hurricane Parks course.
The best course in the world.
So let's take a look at who we have in the lineup today.
Representing Caracas, Venezuela.
All right, the 24 riders are lined up. We hear in-house MC Catfish cheering on Daniel Dares, one of the most celebrated riders coming out of Venezuela. He's also a silver Olympic medalist. Our second rider to take the course is going to be Tom van Bogard from the Netherlands. The young rider from Japan, Katie Azawa, really talented and excited to watch the way that he brings his technique here. Tom Clemens coming out of Germany, another powerful rider who made it here into the semi. Coming all the way from Santiago, Chile, very excited as this is his first semi-final, Jose Sedano.
The USA, Caden Stone.
Caden Stone, a.k.a. Dubby, has a large following on YouTube. He is going to be riding. Look for big cash rolls out of that rider. Our next rider, Jude Jones, doing it for Team Great Britain. Hot hands, fast bar spins are definitely on the menu. Moving over to South America right here, coming from Brazil, Gustavo, really big rider.
USA, Jacob Thiem.
Jacob Thiem coming from the United States, keeping it going with the USA flavoring right here. This is Bruce Tryon, super excited to watch him throughout the years develop as a rider here at the FISE.
Australia, Jay
As You hear Catfish saying coming from Australia, Jay Tui, known for riding with the Nitro Circus, putting together some of the big combination tricks out there.
Jose Torres Gil.
Jose Torres Gil, another rider who made a name for himself at FISE, specifically jumped onto the scene in our spine competition with big height. The German rider, Paul Thulin, I had a chance to talk with him before the event, and he said he loves this course. It's set up perfect for his tabletop styles. All right, our next rider, Kevin Peraza, representing Mexico. You see Kevin always having a great time, a crowd favorite here in Montpellier. Yeah, Rin Nakamura, the rider in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, representing Japan.
Daniel Sandoval.
Daniel Sandoval has been on fire lately. He has been riding so good. He's charged up, looking to be on top.
Make some noise for Eric
Rezev, big rider, big tricks, big combinations. He definitely puts together 5, 6, 7 hits in one air. We're going to have a lot to look for with him. Joji Mizaki, definitely another rider who's pushing it.
Sean Cornell.
All right, Sean Garnell, he is being cheered on by his coach, Jamie Bestwick, and now we have our top 5 qualifiers. We're running them in reverse order. This is Declan Brooks. You see he's also rocking the Team GB jersey.
The trio of Team GB, Kieran Riley.
And last but certainly not least, our 4th place qualifier, Kieran Riley.
Riding for Team Australia, your
Now we are
Olympic
getting to the top.
medalist,
Tori,
Logan
he is your gold
Martin.
medalist from Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Logan Martin. And right now, get ready for the entire
BMX rider
Southern
in
France to go absolutely nuts for this crowd favorite. This is Anthony Jean-Jean.
And your number 1 qualifier from Team USA, Marcus Christopher!
Yeah, there you go, Marcus Christopher, number 1 qualifier. That's got to be a great position to be sitting coming into this event right here because you technically have a little bit of an advantage.
All right, what an amazing lineup we have for this final. It's going to be even more exciting than it usually is because we have those 24 riders. A lot can happen. They have to give it all in. And we were supposed to have the final tomorrow. We are having it today as we are taking advantage of this beautiful blue sky and sunshine. I am very, very excited to see what the tricks are going to be, what the riders are going to bring to the park, and how they're going to get the show together.
Yeah, this is very exciting. You see the crowd just pouring in here in Montpellier. We have hundreds of thousands of fans getting ready to support our riders over the course of a few days. We have over 14 disciplines here in Montpellier, but right now it is all about the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Men's Final. That's right, you heard Dom say we have 24 riders, and we're going to be running this as a final because the weather has been out here raining, and we're going to get our riders doing it on the course. Right now you can see that elevated section of the park. Very cool. There are 2 spine features there. It's going to give riders an opportunity to put together a lot of points in a short amount of time. You can see on the far back end of the course, there's also an elevated section as well that has that step-up jump where we might see some big banger tricks from our riders. But the one thing you do not see out here is a traditional box jump. That is the talk of the town as far as this course is concerned. I had a chance to talk with Pascal Morse, our Hurricane Parks builder. He said he wanted to bring something unique out here for the riders. He didn't want them to kind of rest on their laurels, and he wanted them to be creative and show their riding. So you see on the bottom part of your screen, there's that massive 3.5 tall meter volcano. That's generally speaking, where there would be a box jump, but the fact that we don't have that is really a big thing. Because you see right behind that, there's a transition to transition jump box. And that is very different than a traditional box jump, where you'd have one steep takeoff and a mellower landing that gives riders an opportunity to throw down tricks that maybe they've practiced a lot into the foam pit or on resi, and they can wind up bringing those tricks to the contest. But the fact that we don't have that is so huge, because riders are going to have to adapt, and if they do a trick over that ramp, it's going to be so rewarded high. I had a chance to talk with Hank Cleworth, their head judge, and he said if a rider can throw down, it's going to be big.
All right, we have our first rider. Thanks, Daryl, for this awesome description of the park, and massive shout out to Hurricane Parks. They are building insane features each year. Also, big thanks to Montpellier Métropole and, of course, the FISE Montpellier itself for making it possible. Our first rider is about to drop in. Daniel Ders, he's been in the finals forever. He's been riding at such a high level for so long. The Venezuelan is dropping in.
All right, 60 seconds starts now. 360 double tail whip over that extended Spox. That, man. Daniel having some difficulty right there. That is what we talked about, that big extended spine. It's the Spox somewhere in the middle, very steep on either side. The fact that he started off so big, he had a little bit of difficulty then on that step up. You're going to see Daniel wave that away, because he knows that it's going to take a very perfect score to get on top of that podium. This is a qualifier for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, and the judges are going to want to see a full pull utilizing the entire 60 seconds out there. Sometimes when riders have some difficulty, they will wind up waving it off for a little bit and saving their energy for the next round.
Better for the rider to stop riding, not exert their energy, and come back.
Very important for them to have that full pull.
You don't want to exert any more energy. Your best run counts here in the finals.
So we are in a format where the best run counts. So yeah, that's the decision of the rider. If they know that they can for sure give a better run and it's not just going to take off a few little points, well, they might do like Daniel Ders is doing and just say, okay, I'm not even wasting some energy on this, because the park is massive and it does take an insane amount of energy to go through. So we are going for a second rider of the day, Tom van der Bogart.
All right, Van den Bogart, big height right there on that combination flip. Look at the gap across that channel. Van den Bogart is known for style, and right now he is just letting it rip as he works through his first 15 seconds of his run. Now, Van den Bogart is definitely a rider who likes to utilize big parts of the course, and we see that with transfers both directions. Dom, we want to watch for our riders, the way that they're able to put their tires not only on the ramps with the tricks, but also how can they find the lines? And we're seeing Van den Bogart transfer up onto the elevated section. Big flare right there. That's that backflip with 180. Coming back down. Tail whip very nice into that pocket, catching the pedals. Big transfer into that volcano we talked about. Backflip with the foot variation. Nice. Kicking the foot off, getting that fast plant on the wall. Van den Bogart going for that foot burner. Now, these are going to be crucial moments for any rider, the end of their run. The judges want to see, because this course is so challenging, there's so many transfers and so many lines, it can be easy to get lost out there. What I mean by that, to utilize a run for the entire 60 seconds where you know where you're going with your combinations, if you've got a lot of energy, you can put down big tricks towards the end of your run. It's definitely going to show. Great combo right there, 3 tricks in one. Backflip, X up to that turn down, and take a look here at his flare. That's that backflip with the 180. And now Van den Bogart with that can-can step through. And Van den Bogart's a very interesting rider because he actually spins in a goofy-footed position, so that's why in that flare you saw it looked like an opposite direction. But in this day and age, it's like, Dom, riders are so dialed, there almost isn't a regular or an opposite anymore. But Van den Bogart is going to get the first score with the 69.50. We see Daniel Ders up there on the board. That's going to be a throwaway score. but we are working through our first heat of 6 riders out here.
So I have to say, for a first score of the day, it's already pretty high. Like when you have the first few riders that are going, they are the one kind of setting the bar, also with the judges. So the judges have they have the really tough job to decide for those first scores. Of course, the other ones after, but they will all compare to this one. So we are with our third rider, Katie Ozawa.
Japan being represented right now, tail whip across the channel. We're taking a look, flying up with that no-hander, bar spin to X up. You saw he threw a few pedals in there trying to generate speed, and he does nicely right there, getting the combinations, the downside 360 tail whip. Whoa!
Oh,
Wow. Having a little difficulty. Thankfully, back up to his feet right there. You saw he went for the bar spin variation. It looked like potentially he was going for 3 of them. Throwing the bars catch, and then on that third one, had a little difficulty getting the hands back on. Thankfully, he was able to fall backwards into that transition. Great combo there. You see the slow-mo, the 360, kicks the back end of the frame around, puts his feet back on, and then twists the handlebars around. Very big transfer with that tail whip. And let's look, watch, 1, 2, and then 3. He misses his hand right there and then falls right into the transition. Anytime a rider falls, you do not want to, especially on a bar spin. But if you can land into that transition, Dom, it's good because you can slide out a little bit as opposed to falling all the way to flat.
all right. So another most likely throwaway score for Katie Ozawa with 35.40. We have our next rider, Tom Clemens from Germany, about to drop in, getting in the zone.
Tom Clemens, only 17 years old. He's got his coach, Daniel Wiedemeyer, out here cheering him on. Let's see, boom, hot hands. You heard there's triple truck driver. It's a 360 with 3 bar spins. Toboggan going over that step, 360 tail whip to a bar spin. So we're gonna wanna see the riders try to not pedal as much as possible. That's what the judges like, because it shows that you can have flow out there and that you can keep your speed and momentum. We're seeing Tom take a couple pedals, still very smooth, not taken away from his riding at all, but it's just something we want to watch while a rider's out there, because you can generate speed by pumping into the transition. And that's going to be the difference on some riders' scores if they're able to just keep that momentum pumping down the ramps. And right now we're seeing Tom work really well with the consistency on that double bar spin as he has 10 seconds to go. Double tail whip over that hip. And let's see if he could put, yes, the opposite flare right there. So that was great. So Tom had a lot of good elements right there where he was able to utilize the full 60 seconds. He did throw combos and tricks on almost every single one of those hits. And he ended with a strong thought with that opposite flare. Look at that right there. That was an alley-oop floating backwards with toboggan coming in over that step up. You see the backflip with the turn down. You got to twist your body off to the side and manipulate the bike. There's a 360 bar spin to a tail whip. And then here's a look at that backflip with the turn down. And you also saw a cool shot of the crowd right there pouring in to cheer on our riders. Thousands of fans migrated here to the south of France to cheer our riders on at the UCI BMX Freestyle World Cup Final.
So just waiting for the score for Tom Clemens. We have a 63.60. He's all right with that. All right, places him in second position for the moment. Of course, a lot can happen, and we will most likely see higher scores than a 63. Next up,
All right, our next rider.
from Chile, Jose Sedano. Stoked to be
Sedano
here.
representing Shadow Conspiracy, Sabrosa TSZ, Meds Clinic, and his local park, Zignal. Look, Sedano hanging up right there on that no-handed 360. Thankfully, he's okay. He's putting the big heart up in the air. You hear the crowd just showing their appreciation for Sedano. He was so excited to be here. He's been riding so good and focused. This is his first FISE final. He was really pumped. Probably had a lot of nerves coming in here, but he's going to have another opportunity in his second run. As you said, Dom, this is best run that counts. So he's going to have that chance to make up for it in his second run. And it could be anyone's game because of that format.
So we will see another throwaway score, but that is the good thing, is to be able to have two runs, and you know that you can catch up. However, we can see what happened here. He cased it with the back wheel, didn't quite make it, but as you said before, he managed to land still a bit in the transition and was able to not just like land in the flat. You need to learn how to fall in those sports. That is a big part of it.
He definitely did by keeping it on the course. You actually saw that he went a little bit off the side on that first 360, and I think that wound up throwing him a little bit off balance on that second 360. Thankfully didn't fall off the course and hit that other ramp. So Sedano, we're going to have another opportunity to see out here. But right now we are going to move up to the USA. This is from Riverside County, 19 years old, doing it for Free Agent. He's known as Dubby, but his birth name is Caden Stone. I know right now his mom and dad are cheering him on. He rides a lot with Daniel Sandoval. His brothers Gavin and Jared are cheering him on as he starts off big with that triple bar spin into the pocket. Double tail whip. You see how steep that landing is. 360 double downside tail whip.
Yeah.
Big flare across that channel. That was huge, Dom.
That was massive.
All right, Caden has a very solid start. Look at this, going all the way up that huge spine landing, coming into the quarter pipe.
Yeah!
Yes! Dubby kicking that around. I believe that was a triple tail whip, which is crazy to think that he was able to put that down when he had 20 seconds in his run. You can see as he winds up working it out. Now, this is going to be important. He's got to keep his bearings and let the judges know that he's got what it takes, and he does on that 450 cash roll over the hip right there. That was crazy. He wound up going backwards, and when he's traveling backwards, does a flip and then gets that rotation coming back around. And the reason it's a 450, because it's over the hip as opposed to just getting that 360. I had a chance to talk with him about that before the contest, and he just said that cash roll 450, super unique, very hard to do on the hip, but you could have fooled us because that looked beautiful. So look at this 360 bar spin, downside tail whip, so committed over that top tube. And look here as he gets the transfer with the double tail whip. You see his feet just adjusting on the pedals. There you go, throwing down that big, massive rotation. And then here we have the downside 360 double tail whip where he just was floating over that head tube. And look at the tail whips 3 times around. And then right here, this is the cherry on the sundae.
Boom.
Boom. The cash roll over the hip. So crazy to do right there.
He is definitely seems satisfied with his run, and with reason. We have a new leader with a pretty high score of 81.40. I think it's a well-deserved score.
Yeah, first rider we're seeing bumping up into that 80s, but right now we are going to re-rack the deck on our first heat. That means that Daniel Dares is going to get his second opportunity out on the course. If there is one rider that can deliver under pressure, it is definitely Daniel Dares. Not only has he won almost every single contest out there, but he also, Dom, has a silver medal in BMX from the Olympics.
Is what we call a professional competition rider. This guy is no stranger to pressure. He's no stranger to FISE puck either. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, Daniel, there we go. Getting it clean, 2 for 2. This time, pulling it on that 360, coming up onto the elevated course, jumping down. Let's see Daniel. He's always known, too, for dissecting a course and putting his tires on the most amount of obstacles out there.
Yeah,
He worked out no-handed 720. So let's see what he's going to wind up working with. Setting up over that pocket hip. Coming into that step up. No-handed backflip. Daniel Dares is definitely inspiration on and off the bike. He's been spending a lot of time down in Venezuela, where he has just been inspiring so many riders on and off the bike to basically just step up their game. He's been using his platform that he has from the Olympics, getting a silver medal, and he's been working with the government to really just be an ambassador for the sport and beyond. So right now, big tuck, no hander, coming back in, final thought, alley-oop over the hip, and Daniel Dares throwing his hand up.
And you can confirm it with me, maybe, but I heard that he is also coaching with the Chinese team, with women. Is it possible?
Well, Daniel, he always, I'm going to say he coaches almost all riders out there. No, Dom, it's a good thing you're bringing this up, because he has his own skate park in the Carolinas where all riders come out, spend time, and he gives them all pointers and coaches. He's almost coaching for the international BMX circuit and family, because we do have riders who travel down, they spend time, they get pointers, and he has essentially 10 riders at a time living at the skate park or in the town, and really gives them all the pointers. But let's take a look right here. That was so cool, the way to start that off. The 360 double tail whip into that steep transition. And the fact that he was able to pull that big combo over the steep, longer spine than that shorter spine right there is just such a hard thing to find that landing. So right now, Daniel definitely waving it up for the crowd. He is a favorite out here. He's a superstar, especially in France. As our score waits to come in, this is no easy thing for our judges to do. They have to basically figure out what numeric value the rider's going to get, not only on their riding, but how is it going to fit to the other riders who have already went, but also then leave some room for the additional riders to take the place. So we're seeing a 62.40 for Dares. It's a little bit kind of unconventional for Daniel, so he wasn't probably too happy with that score, but I got to tell you, Tom, I was happy to see Daniel out here and at least complete a second run.
Absolutely, and of course it's a bit different today, because this was supposed to be a semi-final, and it is the final, so it's not, you don't prepare the same way, and mentally it can change a little bit. So here we go for Tom van der Bogart for his second run.
Look at the height and speed out of Van den Bogart. You are just seeing him blast up and away, and I believe that was 3 times around on that downside triple 360 tail whip. Van den Bogart, look at the tabletop. I know Tabe Lord's Instagram account is hyped on that one right there, folding it flat and holding it as he has 30 seconds to go. Van den Bogart putting the throttle on, and you see right here, even though he's at the halfway mark, he's able to generate speed in this elevated section of the course and put down a lot of combos, bypassing the spine to get the speed to do that downside tail whip into the pocket. Now you see, that's how a rider can really utilize where they wind up selecting which ramps they're going to hit, and they can get that momentum and keep it flowing, as Van den Bogart did perfectly in run number 2.
Yeah. There we go. I mean, even just for them, so for these guys to be there with this crowd, this is something really special about the FISE Montpellier, is the energy that the crowd brings to the rider. Look at this. Absolutely beautiful. So much amplitude on this trick.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Tom before the event, and he said that his friends and family cheering him on, like on that 360 downside triple whip, is so important to him. He's repping out here for Vans, Tall Order, Paul's Boutique, 888, Perfection BMX Wheels, Burnbow, and he wanted to give a shout out to Barbrandt Sport for helping him get out here and strut his stuff out on the course. And look at that perfect fast plant on the wall. You can see Van den Bogart is psyched on his run. We loved it, but it's going to be up to the judges to see where he'll fit so far in the current standings.
So second.
All right, so a 76.40. So Van den Bogart's going to be sitting in that second spot just behind Caden Stone.
La deuxième place avec 76.40 sur le premier run. Second place for you, Tom.
All right. We are set to go with run number 2.
So
the
ready
youngest rider
to
here in
go.
the finals.
So youngest rider in the final, Katie Osawa from Japan. Here we go. Boom.
Yeah, 15 years old, the young gun tearing it up. You can see that usually when a rider's younger, they don't have a lot of experience, but we are seeing him just confidently charging with a 360 triple bar spin over that big volcano. That is such a hard ramp to go over. It's transitioned in the bottom, Dom, and then there's a big banked wedge, and it's completely blind on the other side. When I was talking with Axel Jurgens, one of our judges, he said that ramp is so crazy. There we go, getting the triple bar spin.
Yeah, what a transition. That is some good use of the bar, if I can say.
Yeah, here we go. X up to bar spin, transferring up, getting all that speed coming down. The big spine to set up for that tail whip to bar spin. Here we go. Is he going to put something big on the step up? 360 double bar, tail whip across the channel. And that is time right there. That was a huge run for the 15-year-old from Japan.
Beautiful, beautiful run. You know what, Daryl? This is my 10th year at FISE, and I am absolutely stoked to see a lot of the faces that were there when I started in 2013. But I am delighted to see some new faces to me. I mean, he is not totally new to the sport, but to see the young blood, to see more young riders in the finals, I absolutely love it. This is putting the pressure on the other generation, and it can make a shuffle.
And then he just kept going. Tail whip, watch his handlebars here.
Yeah, I mean, you basically see in action sports, one generation builds on the generation prior, and look at that. Wow, that was 4 bar spins. So we, from our perspective on the first go around, I couldn't see that it was 4, but that is crazy. If we wind up saying 3 or 4, the judges, we have 0 impact on them. I just want to be clear that the judges definitely have all their eyeballs peeled on the riders. They have a great vantage point and perspective where they're able to see every single combo that goes down, but that's a huge one to not only 360 bar spin, but 4 bars is massive, Dom.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And you can see this in BMX, and you can see this in other sports. What is becoming normal today used to be a one-of-a-kind kind of thing. So here we have the score. He gets 70.40, which puts him in 3rd place for the moment, but there is still a lot to happen. Next up, Tom Clemens for his 2nd run.
Yeah, so Clemens in his first run at a 63.60. He's looking to step things up a little bit in run number 2. So dropping in, 360. Here we go, toboggan. All right, 360 tail up to bar spin. So this is going to be interesting, Dom. Riders have 2 opportunities on course. And since it is a best run format that counts, if their runs are similar as far as their approach going and the course and lines that they're going to take, they're not going to penalize for that. Uh-oh, having a little bit of difficulty there going off the side of the stage. But they won't be penalized for that. But what they do want to do is try to up the ante in their second run and maybe throw a few more tricks in there, maybe a little higher, maybe another combo here or there, and that's where they'll be rewarded with more points. You see Tom had a little bit of difficulty up here in his second run, so that first run will definitely be sticking for him.
That
wraps up.
Time. Some German new blood here. Let's watch a few replay moments. Love the slow-mo because sometimes there's so much happening in these tricks. As you said, especially with something like the bar spins, have it in slow-mo afterward. It really makes us appreciate and especially count sometimes what happened.
Yeah, I mean, right now, his coach, Daniel Wiedemeyer, is cheering him on. Definitely psyched to see our wasn't as polished as the first, and that will be his score that sticks. You can see the 41.80 will be his throwaway. It's 0.60.
All right, let's do it. Run at number 2 for the man from Santiago, Chile.
From Santiago, Chile, Jose Sedano. He has a bit of pressure on his shoulder. His first run didn't go quite as planned at all, and here he goes.
Hanging up a little bit. Able to recover, though, getting the no-handed 360 over the spine. Look at that folded and holded tabletop. We're going with the big turn-down transfer. First rider we saw jump to the right. That's the cool thing with that feature on the park. It gives you the opportunity to go in both directions. Big double backflip. Yes, Sedano getting it done. All right, we got 30 seconds to go. No-hander over the volcano coming back at us. Big tabletop. That's not a traditional quarter pipe, so it's hard to do. And then he gets the 3 transfer right there. Again, that is completely blind. But right now he is using his faith as he's coming in over the hip, transfers up, and let's see if he winds up utilizing the spines here as he throws down that alley-oop flare tail whip, opts for the second spine, 270 out of a double tire ride. Quick little technical toothpick at the end, and that is time for Sedano.
Well, he must be very happy to have been able to complete his second run. Even though he had a little bit of a hang at the beginning, the rest of it, he was able to get back in the groove and deliver. Some big encouragement from fellow Latin American riders here in the crowd.
Yeah, you actually could see his coach, Victor Munoz, was out there cheering him on, fellow rider.
Yeah, Victor is such a cool guy. It's always a big smile. Really, really fun to be around as well as an amazing rider himself.
Yeah, Sedano actually is another one of those guys. We mentioned about Daniel Dares coaching a lot of the BMX riders in general, just using his veteran status to just leave a good mark on BMX. Sedano has been living at the Daniel Dares Action Sports facility in Carolinas, where he's just been riding a lot, and you could see a little bit of that impact, how he's been able to make it here to the final. So it's cool to see Daniel Dares having that impact rubbing off in a positive way. So Sedano is going to have a 72.70 for his second run. Nice for him to get a full pull out there. And we're going to move along with Caden Stone. Caden Stone riding for free agent. He's definitely a superstar because he's got his own YouTube channel. You should give him a follow on there and check out the life of Caden Stone, known as Dubby. Again, I know his parents are watching along with his brothers, Gavin and Jared, and they're saying, go, go, go! Oh my gosh, having some difficulty. That was huge, going for some wild cash roll variation,
Yeah,
but I talked about how steep that ramp is.
MC called it 360 to cash roll maybe, but wow, this is when we talked about learning the fall, and that is one moment where you need to know how to fall properly. That would have been so good. I would have loved to see this, and I'm quite bummed that we will not have the chance to see him ride again.
Yeah, well, big shout out, though, to Caden Stone. If you do want to give him a follow on YouTube, you can see all of his antics. Take a look, 360 bar spin to downside tail whip. And then right here going, wow, that was wild.
That
like
was
you said,
insane. And not only just the
looked like
trick.
Whole bunch of spinning right there. 720 cash rolls.
oh my gosh, that was a lot going on.
He knew that he's all right.
Yeah, I mean, when you start getting into variations of those tricks, they're a lot of times you even ask riders, and you're like, what were you going for? And they're like, hey, it was somewhere in between the two. Call it either way you want, but I will call that crazy because he was good in that rotation. I like what Catfish was saying, the 720 cash roll. Either way, he wasn't able to find that landing. You see it, look at our judges right there. They are trying to figure it out. On the left side of your screen, that's head judge Hank, a.k.a. Dave Cleworth from Great Britain. He has a very difficult job to make sure that all the numbers going in are proper and they're right and they're up to the UCI standards, because as we mentioned, this is a qualifier for the Paris 2024 games, so we want to be everything dialed in.
So we're gonna go check a few highlights of our first heat. right, we are back and ready to roll for our next heat. We're gonna have again a heat of 6 riders, 2 runs each. I mean, it's reverse order, so that means the riders are like the scores and the tricks, everything's just gonna get normally even better and better and better. And the level is already so high. I can't wait to see what the next couple runs and heats bring.
Yeah, as we work through our heats, these are the riders that wound up in qualifying, scoring a little bit higher. So in theory, we're going to see some more action as they take to the course.
So I think our first rider, Jude Jones, dropped in.
Yeah, there we go. Jude Jones is on course. So now we got our timer up there. You see 20 seconds are in. Look at the combination upside down and around. Jude Jones ripping. He's riding for Team GB, 21 years old. Shout out to Core, his sponsor, and also his friends and family. Mom Katie and Dad Simon, his brothers Manny and Ruben are cheering on, and also his cousin Roxy. Unfortunately, Jude went down, but I know they're all screaming for you, Jude, to get back up and do your best out there. So Jude, you're going to see, is going to wind up riding off the rest of his time. Same format goes. It's best run that counts. Riders are going to have 2 opportunities with 60 seconds on the clock. And if one run isn't perfect or they have something that goes wrong, that's fine, because you're going to have a second opportunity to go out there and do your best. The only thing is it does put a little more pressure on a rider's shoulders. And we're going to see here for Jude as he does that backflip, bar spin to tail whip into that massive landing spine. And take a look here as he goes up with the 360 bar spin to downside tail whip. And that was a perfect perspective, and you saw how steep that landing is.
I love the Fufanu Me sign on the, there was a platform there. I would love to see that.
I would too. I think the only rider who's utilized that so far has been Paul Dolan in our qualifier, but we're going to see if anyone here in the final brings it.
So Jude Jones goes with a 32.40, not very surprising considering the small crash there. Next up, Gustavo Oliveira from Brazil, getting ready to drop. Here we go, 60 seconds.
All right, representing GT, Vans Brazil, Profile, 8 Eyes, Dream BMX, Carbon Watch, and Bolsa Athleta. Here we go. Gustavo, double tail whip, jumping to the right there, 20 years old. We basically have seen this rider grow up on 2 wheels in BMX, and he's really come into his own here. And the final, doing that big backflip can over the top tube. Shout outs to his mom and dad that are watching. I was talking to Gustavo beforehand, and he said he's been riding a lot at the new Brazilian Cycling Federation facility that they've built, which is so cool. And I bring that up because the UCI and FISE, working with the Olympics to make this platform, has gotten so many different opportunities for riders. And we've seen that with Gustavo having his own training facility where he's able to just work on his craft and ride big ramps like this on the regular. 3 seconds left for Gustavo. It looks like he's going to have a big flare transfer with the bar spin. And there you go for Gustavo Oliveira.
That was a pretty solid one, nice and flowy, complete, no foot down, nothing. Should get a good score. Ticks all the boxes, then we shall see what the judges decide.
You see some of the other riders right there. That's Kevin Perazza, who's yet to ride, who's cheering on Gustavo. That's what we like to see, the brotherhood and sisterhood of BMX as they cheer on that 360 bar spin. X up to turn down right there. Shout out to Leandro Moreira. You can see another Brazilian rider's influence. And there is that bar spin, pocket air 3 times around on the handlebars. And look at this, no problems at all as Gustavo is able to spot that landing. He did tag just a little, but coming in like that, that jump is crazy. A lot of riders were sweating even jumping that for the first time. So for Gustavo, able to get that variation, nose are in. 78.60, you can see the smile right there, putting up the hand, but he is going to have another opportunity.
pour notre ami
All right,
brésilien.
next up we have Jacob
we're ready to go.
Thiem.
First
Am I
rider from
pronouncing
the
that right,
American,
Daryl?
this is
From the
Jacob.
USA.
You are Dom. Jacob Thiem, 22 years old, free agent, gain protection, hang 5, fist gloves, and Ethica charging in
Yes,
360,
Jake.
multiple bar spins
Barspin
right
machine
there.
Tail whip in the
We
pocket.
got the hot hands coming around. Jacob,
X.
1 foot X up, setting things up.
720
Shout out to his mom at Kimberly.
5'44".
Yes! There you
Truck
go, that
driver on the way
540
down.
flare. He's been riding a lot with his best friend, Daniel Sandoval, also repping Team USA out here, who we will see
Yes,
in
we're
our
looking at
final.
flare tail whip.
And you love seeing that
Keep it
support
going,
for
Dean.
each rider.
Bar
Even though they're
spin flare.
super competitive with each other, it is that support. They want to
20
see each
seconds,
rider
20
out there
seconds.
giving their best. When I was talking with Jacob before the event, he
450.
said, watch out for the quad bars and whips. Dom, you were mentioning about how difficult it is to call some of those on the first go without the
Yeah.
slow-mo, but hopefully we'll have that breakdown. Again, I want to stress
Double
the
whip it.
judges, we have zero impact on them, and they have their perfect point of view and vision to call it in, and putting the hands up for Jacob getting his first run
Another
done.
rider came out and did exactly what he wanted to
Once
do.
again, quite a complete run. Let's watch a couple
Super
moments
stoked on
of
this guy's ride in the
replay.
last couple of years. Every competition he gets better.
Wow. I believe that was
That was a
4
wild
times
one.
around on that 360 bar over that big spine. Unbelievable stuff for Jacob. Just want to put this out there. You can follow Jacob on his social media. He definitely puts a lot of energy into his TikTok and Instagram.
Again, as we move
And
into this
just
upper
saying,
echelon
he's single, ready to mingle, and having a good time. He's 22, young gun, having the time of his life out here in France, in Montpellier. And that's a big thing about FISE. It's always not only the highest level of competition, but the highest level of partying and having fun and connecting with other action sports enthusiasts and fans. And Jacob's been definitely doing that. You can see he was focused in his run, and he's going to have a second opportunity, Dom.
All right, well, Jacob Thiem just waiting for his score right here. Sometimes it does take a tiny bit longer. Suspense is high for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult thing to put the numeric.
83.5 for Jacob Thiem on his first run. That is good. That is quite a good score. But we can get even higher. So next up, Bryce Tyron from the USA. Exciting. Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
All right, dropping in. This is Bryce Tryon doing it for free agent and Cali Protectives. Hands on that 3 over the spine. Look at that pocket with the
Keep
whips.
it going, Jake.
Traveled
Yes.
here with his mom and dad. Big shout out to his girlfriend Michaela, who is definitely trying to put all the energy into Bryce as he is firing up into the step up. Double backflip smooth on the re-entry. Coming around 2 times upside down. Bryce at that halfway mark as he just floats backwards in that 360 bar spin.
Allez, Bryce.
Here we go.
Le passage sur le typique.
Setting up again. Where's he going to bring us, Dom?
360.
720 tail whip. That was a big combination right there. Bryce has been spending a lot of time lately riding with Andy Buckworth and also at Pat Casey's backyard.
Oh,
Malheureusement, ça s'arrêtera là du
no.
coup, s'il vous plaît.
Unfortunately, the run stops there for Bryce Tyron. Had a
That
little
is
bit of a
upsetting
mishap.
because Bryce was looking so good out there. That 720 tail whip is a brand new one in his arsenal, so he's bringing the heat. There you go, 360 triple bar spin. Here's a look at the double backflip, fully committed in front of our full house of fans. There's a look again at that triple, that last bar spin he squeezed in just before his landing. Double tail whip with the pocket air. And then he had that 720 tail whip as well. Big shout out to Bryce. That was a new one. He's pushing his riding, trying to get it done out here. And look at that commitment on the second 360 of the 720, putting his hips all the way into the handlebars to speed up his cadence on the rotation and spot the landing.
We'll take this moment to give a massive shout out to Hurricane Parks, who built these wonderful, wonderful features once again. Big thanks also to the sponsors Montpellier Métropole and the FISE Montpellier for this UCI BMX Freestyle World Cup stop. So we have a 50.4 for Bryce Tyron. He still has an opportunity to get a better run in. We are looking now at our next rider, Jay Toohey from Australia. Dropping in.
Yeah, Jay Toohey.
That was massive.
Definitely the showman, and you saw the height on that backflip Superman full extension right there. As we mentioned earlier, he does a lot of shows with the Nitro Circus.
You can tell. You can tell. This is the kind of trick that they are technical, but also massive crowd pleasers. That is for sure.
Yeah, going for that forward bike flip. Unfortunately, you saw there wasn't enough hang time for Toohey. He's used to the big booters, and he wasn't able to get his bike all the way under him right there. But Toohey having some definitely showmanship skills on the course for his first attempt.
So many insane tricks.
I want to see his second run already. I can't wait to see what he's gonna bring, because look at that height. That spine gives a massive kick. Look
it does,
at this.
and that spine's very intimidating. I know we see a lot of riders blasting it, but first time you jump that, it's totally blind. And look at the bike right there.
It's kind of, he landed it,
unfortunately.
and then just a bit of a slip afterwards.
Yeah, it looked like right there. He got everything back on, the Hyperbikes, fist hand wear, Ethica rider, put it all back on, and unfortunately you saw he wound up jumping off the back of the bike, so his score is going to be a throwaway as we move on to our last rider, heat number 2.
So we are seeing from Argentina, Jose Torres Gil.
Riding for Vans, Kench Oakley, 12 years riding, committed his entire life right here for BMX, and we are watching the big air blaster, Jose Torres Gil. Look at the height! That was crazy, Tom! The biggest air we've seen unofficially out here in the FISE. So let's see if he can keep that speed and momentum. We talk about that being so important. He's able to recover. Look how high he landed on that spine and built the speed back. So he right now is at the halfway mark, and he's got the momentum. If he can keep that, that's going to be huge. Big front flip all the way around and spots the landing, Dom.
This guy can go big, and he's using every transition in the park that he can.
10 seconds have been notified. This is going to be important for Jose. Big flare, tail whip, backflip, 180 with the whip, downside 360 whip, and that's the buzzer.
Landing right on the buzzer. The crowd loved it, and I agree with them. Getting some props from people watching up there and from other riders. Look at this amplitude.
And also how sideways, just corked and twisted, no-handed 360. That is perfection right there. That's beauty. That's a lifetime of commitment. Here you have that front flip. He's able to spot the landing. You see he puts his head towards that crossbar on the handlebars in order to move his weight, momentum forward, and then stretches the arms back out right before the landing. And we've got another look here at that pocket alley-oop. So cool that he's able to use his body weight and momentum to just pull backwards and then spot into that wedge.
So we are waiting for the score for Jose Torres Gil, first run. What will it be? Suspense is high as always. after this rider, we're going to go back up the list of our second heat of rider, and we're going to see what they have to bring to the park for the second run. But we are still waiting for the score. Here it is for now, at fourth in the standings with 77.60. So up next, we have Jude Jones coming back on the park. He will try to better up his first score. He is from the UK. He's about to drop in. And clock starts now.
Jude Jones on course. He was the UK national champion. He's been riding at Corby a lot. There you go. Tail whips over that massively tall 3.5 meters obstacle on the course. As we mentioned, there's no traditional box jump out here, so riders are going to have to basically bring those big combinations to unorthodox ramps to get the hang time, and it looks like Jude Jones is doing it. We got to definitely keep an eye, though, on those bars because he can put so many in one air as far as those spins go. And he gets the frame around, throwing the legs back in a little bit of a super style right there. Jude Jones rocking and representing for Great Britain. Also riding for Core. 360 bar spin to downside tail whip. Jude right there. You saw he lost a little bit of his momentum, but he's got to build it up, and he does with a no-handed front flip.
Whoa. That was a strong finish. Crowd loved it. Let's see what the judges thought. Look at this crowd once again. The beauty of the FISE Montpellier. Now a couple replays.
Many highlights for
Jude.
Many highlights for Jude Jones. Look at the whips over that spine. Again, that is so blind. And what I mean by that is when a rider goes up to a ramp, if you can't spot the landing because of the height difference, it's very hard to know how much speed to give, where to come in. And it's not a traditional ramp that we have at the FISE where you could come in and say, hey, I know how I'm going to approach it. So look at this no-handed front flip over the spine. That landing is double height of the takeoff. 6-foot takeoff, 12-foot landing. You can see right there, Greg Illingworth and also Jamie Bestwick, the two coaches for Team Great Britain, basically waiting for a moment to reflect on the score and see coming in. Very cool again with the fact that we have BMX in the Olympics. We have all these different federations worldwide that support our riders. So a lot of times they become judges. Yeah, 79.40. The riders will become judges or coaches, or they'll basically help put together some of these platforms for the riders.
All right, run number 2.
So run number 2 for Gustavo Oliveira from Brazil.
Truck driver to tuck no-hander, triple truck.
So the 20-year-old, let's see, the Brazilian bar spin 3 times in that pocket.
Tail whip to tuck no-hander, the combo king.
Look how confident he's landing in each one of those transitions. You see that he just presses his body weight into the landing, getting the speed and momentum. That's when a rider pumps into the transition, and you're basically able to just use that body force to generate speed and momentum. And that's why Gustavo is able to just build speed as he is at 25 seconds on his run. Big transfer up. Yes, tuck no-hander, utilizing a lot of these hits, and that's the height. That, even though that was a traditional tabletop, a foundation trick, the fact that he could do it at height with 15 seconds to go is big, and the judges will appreciate that because it's showing his commanding control of the course. Yeah, there you go. Nice flare. That's the backflip 180 with the transfer. Now, you saw that he transferred from the quarter pipe into that slightly mellower ramp. When a rider does that, they don't have to be as concerned about the coping. That's the metal top part of the ramp. And if it's a little mellower, they have a little bit more leeway as far as their precision has to go with the landing. But that was definitely precise on the triple bar spin with that transfer. Taking a look right there, 360 bar spin, X up bar spin over the steep double-sided spots. Spots the landing with enough to come into that backflip tail whip. Right up and over the step up, and Gustavo then throws the flare on the far end of the course. And big run, big run.
Big run indeed. Once again, waiting for the judges to make their decision to see for the second run what will happen and where he is going to be in the standings so far. It's so hard to tell for these riders. There we go. He was trying to blow kisses at the camera, but didn't quite. They could see themselves in the big screen. Bettering a little bit with an 80.80 that puts him in third place in the standings for now. So pretty good, pretty good. He had a good run on the first one. He had even better in the second one. So that's what we like to see. Next up, Jacob Thiem from the USA, dropping in.
All right, Jacob, come on. Gassing it with the 4 bar spins, I believe, over that big spine, hitting that pocket air, tail up the bar spin, super confident. That is what we like to see as Jacob just blasts up 3 tail whips. This is crazy to think.
Oh, no. Oh. Getting some love from the crowd.
That is frustrating. Well, Jacob had an 83.50 for his first run. That's definitely going to be the score. But he was looking so good in his second run, Dom, as he had so many tricks put in, just a few hits, because he was utilizing the multiple bar spins, the multiple whips, and the confidence, which is always key to doing those combos in the air.
Absolutely. But the good thing is we knew he had a good first run, so he knows he's in a pretty good place, but you know, there are still a ton of good and amazing riders to come. So it is still too bad not to have been able to complete a second run and better up the score.
Yeah, we saw that 360 quad bar spin right there.
Yeah, so throwaway score for Jacob Thiem. He is still first in the standings so far. Next up, we have Bryce Tryon, excuse me.
Well, we got Bryce Tryon getting ready to drop in. He's living out in Temecula, California. His coach is Ryan Nyquist. That's right, the living legend and riding legend of BMX is the Team USA coach. As we said, he traveled out here with mom and daddy Psych. His dad has been a big fixture. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was a big. That was a
Bryce
hard
going down
hit.
hard. We are going to give him a moment or two to check out. He can take as much time as he wants, but I do know that Bryce is a very tough rider. We've seen him go down before in competition and get up. Tough as nails, but we are going to give him a moment to just get checked out. We have some of the best medical staff out here in the world.
Big
Hopefully
shout out
Bryce will be okay.
Big shout out to the medical staff that has been here at FISE. You can see how quick they are to help the riders. They are ready, but they do know how to give some space, because sometimes when you have a big crash like this, you do need a little bit moment to get your stuff together, be like, okay, am I really hurt? What is happening? Sometimes there's the adrenaline of the fall as well that you have to deal with, and you just need a little bit of space to breathe. But they are there and they are doing an amazing job. So thank you, everyone. And when we're within the thank yous, I would like to thank all the volunteers at the FISE, because you know what? We have over 500 volunteers. Here he is, standing on both of his feet, but definitely was a tough fall. That is never fun to watch.
Big shout out to you, Bryce, for really bringing the show. And you can see the support of the crowd out here. Thankfully able to walk on off, tough as nails. And just unfortunately, the second run didn't go his way.
Next up, Jay Chewy from Australia for his second run. Let's see what he's got.
Hyper Bikes, DRI Times, Ethica, the Gold Coast of Australia,
Oh!
J2 with the double
Oh my
backflip.
God, that was massive.
That really was. That was over our big spine feature, double toe up to pedals. J2 the showman, this time getting the forward bike flip. You can hear the entire crowd in Montpellier just cheering on our Gold Coast rider J2 as he is just blasting around the park. He's coming up at that halfway mark with 30 seconds to go, hitting the big whips over that extended Spox. Dom, this is a big run so far for J2.
It is a massive run.
Getting that front flip, you saw that he had to just basically go a little bit off axis and then straighten things back out for the landing. Come on, Jay.
Yeah.
Getting that back flip, barrel roll, under flip going, 10 seconds. These are crucial for Tui because he's looking good. Double tail whip on the hip, looking for that exclamation.
Keep it together. Oh, at the very last second. What a full run, and all the way to the very last second, kept it together. Definitely he's gonna have points deducted for this last little slip. But oh my, the rest was absolutely amazing. And these tricks that are so aerial, look at this, the size of this double backflip.
Yeah, the double backflip, we've seen riders do in the competition prior, but no one has done it over that spine. The fact that you're only traveling about 12 inches across the top of the deck is such a difficult thing to do and have the height. Look at that sky high, spotting a landing perfectly, and then coming in fast, but just put the throttle down to then blast across that transfer. He also had that forward bike flip that was really cool. You're letting go of the bike, and he's using his magic powers to just put all of his limbs back on. So J2 right there getting a big run.
Camera is looking for J2 here to wait for the score, but he knows he is not satisfied to have had that little bit of a slip at the end.
Yeah, and the judges have a difficult thing too because J2 did big blasting show tricks, which were great. And some other riders wound up throwing a lot more combos, and they threw a lot more bar spins or more frequency of tricks on ramps. So it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. It's a difficult thing to do, and it's going to really come down to preference. And the thing that J2's tricks were so hard because he did them on the ramps, and he's rewarded with an 88.20.
Putting him in the first place for the moment. That is a big score, then I believe that might keep him near the top for quite a while.
The judges have spoken, and the crowd here in Montpellier has backed up their verdict. An 88.20 is the score to beat now, set by the Gold Coast rider J2.
I wonder if his last trick was not like just after the buzzer. If it was, maybe it didn't count. Now we have Jose Torres Gil on the park.
Vans, Kench, Oakley, let's see. As we've got the Argentinian rider ripping it up right now. Come on, Jose. Flying up. Yes, beautiful re-entry on that off-axis 720. That's 2 spins around, but his bike is completely sideways and flat. No-hander flying up. And look also at Jose right here. Big height on that front flip. And he's able to do that because he was landing so high in those transitions. You want to land as close to the top as possible and then use that momentum to just pump down, and he's able to get that nice floating backwards alley-oop. That's when a rider just goes backwards in their air. They just drift as opposed to turning into their traditional direction.
So here it is, second run, is over for Jose Torres Gil. Second heat is also over now. That was our 12th rider. and we shall be waiting for the score. And I did have the info in my ear during the run that J2, his last slip was after the buzzer, so this is why it did not affect his score. So we are watching a bit of a replay of what happened during José Torres' run that we just witnessed.
Yeah, so the Argentinian put down, there's that double tail whip coming around. We're waiting for his score, see where he'll fit on that board. Little recap, his first run was a 77.60. So let's think if that will be a better or how that will wind up fitting. Score to beat right now currently is Jay Tui, followed by Jacob Beam, and then Caden Stone. Those three riders are in the 80s. Also Gustavo Oliveira sitting in fourth with an 80.80.
Some props from Sandoval.
Fantastic finish of your current leader, J2.
They have such a tough job, the judges, especially with a massive panel of riders like this that have that all have so much talent. It's an 83 for José Torres Gil, nice score. So we're gonna take a minute here to take a look at the highlights from this heat while the riders for the next heat are warming up.
Et pour vous expliquer du coup pourquoi.
All right, we are back with this beautiful drone view of the park. We are still in the warm-up for our third heat, and yep, the things are gonna start to get heated. We have such a big panel of riders that is still to come. We still have 12 more riders to watch. Next up, first one in the third heat is Paul Thurlin from Germany.
Paul Thurlin, definitely a fast, exciting rider, and I say that because he rides for Fast and Loose. That's a BMX group of wild guys, and look at that transfer. Paul Thurlin, the German rider, straight into that Fast plant. Very cool to see. 24 years old, living in Cologne, and his coach is Tobias Vicky, cheering on the speed. of Paul Tholen as he's able to tire slide across the top. We are seeing Paul Tholen, our 13th rider, in the final, and he is the first rider to take a completely different approach out here as he is just lofting a little bit higher consistently on every single ramp, and he's got the speed and style is more of his emphasis as opposed to different bar spin variations. And there you have it, that foot plant up on top of that Fufanumi little wall that you talked about earlier, Dom.
Yeah, I like to see riders starting to use different features or features differently.
So Tholen right now, final moments, showing that he's got the big jumping tricks and variations with those flares on the quarter pipe as well. And that is time for Paul Tholen getting the full pull out there.
Beautiful run. I think it was nice and creative. Some different style from other riders, so that's always cool to see when a rider really expresses himself or herself.
There we go, Tholen with that big transfer, doing it for Vans, TSG, Kunstform, Fast and Loose, Demolition. We also have Perfect BMX wheels by Paul De Jong. And we've got right now that big flip over the hip. I love seeing Tholen's riding out here. Look at this. This was all about that foot plant precision. There is only one foot to put his foot on as he's able to go upside down, hit that pivot point, and come back smoothly into that transition. So we're going to see what the judges think. This was a totally different approach on his run.
Absolutely.
J2 was rewarded with that. He had the big combo, the big tricks, and didn't focus as much on putting a frequency of tail whips and bar spins in there. We saw Tholen take a different approach than that with a lot of speed, a lot of height, and a lot of style. He was able to basically strip his riding down and then just have that speak volumes, which is a very hard thing to do, and that's why we haven't seen any other riders do that out here. One thing to note that all riders unanimously have loved this Hurricane Parks design course by Pascal Morse, where they like the fact that there's so many hips and transfers, and Tholen was saying that this is one of his favorites out there.
So we have a 76.20. It's an okay score. We were wondering how the judges were gonna score this. We have our answer. Next up, you might hear the crowd go quite wild for this guy, Kevin Peraza from Mexico.
Mexico getting cheered on. His coach is Alex Vasquez, who's out here getting ready to go behind Kevin Peraza. He starts things off with the 360 can-can. He hung up a little bit. That's because his back wheel didn't make it across that deck. A little bit uncharacteristic for Kevin. But what we are seeing is characteristic is him recovering right now and peeling back the throttle. And look at the transfer right there as he takes his legs off and grabs his seat. Peraza going in over the step up, and it looks like Kevin's going to wind up waving that one off, unfortunately.
Yeah, he says, I will wait for it, crowd, wait for it. I will be back. So we know that he is better than that, and that he can pull together a massive run. So we will have to wait until the second run to see this.
Yeah, so Kevin having some difficulty, but doing it for Mongoose, Vans, Bell Helmets, Ethica, Demolition Parts, and Struggle Club. His brother Eddie's brand. Look at that big transfer right there. You saw he landed a little bit low, but he's so committed over the handlebars, and look at that spot coming up just a little bit short on his run, which is unfortunate. But Kevin is another guy that could deliver under pressure because he's got that signature style and smile, and that usually comes out in his riding. So we're cheering you on, Kevin, for run number 2.
So next rider is going to be Rimu Nakamura from Japan. Also well known here at the FISE, was 4th overall last year in 2022. Really looking forward to see this run.
Rimu Nakamura riding for Wing Arc, Oakley, G-Shock, Sabrosa, Shadow Conspiracy, Vans, and Burn. Here we go, dropping in. Big look back. He was able to crank the height as he ripped the bars just backwards, getting his body contorted. 720 with the bar spin. You saw the way he had to pull his bike into his handlebars, excuse me, his handlebars into his body to get that rotation coming around. Kicking that downside tail whip, 360.
Yeah.
Very smooth out there. Yes. Hot hands going on those bars. I believe that was a triple on that 360 bar spin. Rim getting the big flare with the bars coming around. Riding, as I mentioned, for Sabrosa. That's his bike company. And I mention it because he's got his own signature bike that he's riding. Unfortunately, having a little bit of trouble out there. But a little fun fact with his bike, his actual head-to graphic is his family crest. And his family is as BMX gets, because his dad owns a bike shop. And he's actually named after the bike part, the rim. And that just goes to show that BMX is in Rimu's blood through and through, but he's going to have, unfortunately, not a full pull on his first run, and it looks like his second will be the one that's going to have to stick. There was that 360 downside tail whip, and then he kicked it back halfway through and got his feet to the pedals. And here's a look at that flare bar spin at such height. You see how that he was tucked into the bars, had his elbows out to just compensate for that extra height and boost. And here's a look at the 360 whip, kicking it back again. You saw his foot just went right on that seat tube of his signature bike, and then look for that landing right there.
So waiting for his score. He knows it's not going to get, it's not going to be the one score that he will be keeping, most likely, in the end, because of that little slip at the end of the run. But still, the up to that point, the run was, as usual, pretty impressive. A lot of suspense here every time. It's always difficult for the riders to be catching up their breath and be like with the big camera straight on your face. You're waiting for your score. And here it is, a 58.80. Brings him to 13th place in the standings for the moment. All right, next up, another rider that we love here at FISE, has been here forever, Daniel Sandoval from the USA.
Sandoval, 28 years old, riding for free agent Fist and Snafu. Definitely ready to bring the heat as he drops in. Sandoval charging. Look at this. First rider we saw going backwards up that step up for their first hit. And Sandoval's got the height right here as he kicks the tail whip after that 360 bar spin. Sandoval, big flare transfer. He is charging. So that's the other thing, Dom. A rider can select not only what trick they want to do, like that double decade air, but they can select wherever they want to start on the course, and the judges know that that will set the rider up for their lines throughout the rest of their 60 seconds. So sometimes they'll wind up hitting a ramp to wind up getting set up in position. Oh!
Ah! What a bummer. This feature has been taking a toll on quite a few riders up to now. Now that he has the bike even went down from the park, from the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Daniel.
Yeah, thankfully he didn't go all the way off the side. You might have seen on our FISE social media. Definitely give us a follow at FISE World. But in our qualifying, Nick Bruce unfortunately wound up falling off the side of the ramp into the water. That's kind of gone viral online. But we're going to hope that Daniel Sandoval's second run can go viral if he steps things up. But right now, look at the many highlights of his first run as he comes on in with that double decade around the top tube. That was originally a flatland trick where you would do one decade, your bike stays stationary, but you and your handlebars wrap around the front. And right there, he went airborne with 2 decades coming around. Not many riders can do that. Look at the commitment, spots the feet right on the pedals.
The bicycle goes around the rider.
So Sandoval right there, charging, and look right there, the flare with the bar spin, the transfer, sticking both wheels on that quarter pipe wedge landing.
and
then
landing.
going down, unfortunately.
And he did land really high on that transfer. That's so good to see. All right, so we have a 59.10, but that will not be the kind of score that he is after. So pretty sure we're going to see some good good improvement in the next run. We see on your screen Irek Rizaev with a big traditional smile, dropping in, clock is in.
This is your six-time national champion, traveled here with his wife, Dasha, and look at the height right there on that pocket. Irek's been having such a great time out here. You can see all of his behind-the-scenes antics on his YouTube channel. He just launched an English version of it. There you go, triple tail with the 720 no-hander. Irek is charging, trying to get technical with that bar spin to foot jam, having some difficulty. And we mentioned that this is an Olympic points qualifier, so the judges are going to want to see perfection. They can be very heavily penalized or rewarded, whether they wind up putting a foot down or crashing or not. And Irek is back on it as he has 15 seconds working over that big, massive blind volcano, coming back downside, looking for the double tail at 360. Thankfully, didn't go off the stage like Daniel Sandoval, but that run is not going to be exactly what Irek was looking for.
No, unfortunately, and really that feature just seems to take everyone's a bit by surprise in the landing, as you said. It is a very tricky feature to hit.
Yeah, Dom, that's a good point. And the reason being, it's a step up that a lot of riders have ridden before, but they're trying to do big tricks and also get the speed from the spine volcano before that or a transfer. And if you don't have your full speed as you go up there, or you're trying to just stretch a little bit more hang time to do the trick, it's easy to not get a dialed-in landing and then have that difficulty. So if that was just freestanding on its own, it's one thing, but this is a 60-second run where a rider has to utilize the full course, and it comes down to your approach, your line, and that's usually determined 2, 3, 4 hits beforehand, and basically breaking down how you're going to put your wheels onto this canvas.
So a 46.60 for Irek Rizaev, not the score that he's looking at to get, but still has a second run to go in a moment. So we have good chances to see a full run from this rider.
Another new face.
So
Here at the FISE,
Joji Mizogaki, excuse me, 17 years old from Japan, new face here at FISE. Here he goes.
185th to start his run is
Riding
insane.
for Oakley, Japan, Vans, Japan, Federal Bikes, and Burn. Here we go. 17 years old, big no-hander, nice height to that toboggan where he grabbed the seat and extended it out, putting 2 foundation tricks together, 360 dip in that front end, and there was that toboggan again. Great combination right here. We are seeing the 17-year-old try to maximize each one of his height and airs to just throw another trick in before his wheels touch down. Now, this is what we talk about. This is a very important part where you're going to want to see, can he bring his speed up? Can Joji just keep that momentum going? Or is he going to stay technical here and just try to rack the points up in her elevated spine section? And that is definitely what he did by jumping up and jumping out right there.
One hand, one foot.
So Joji working down his run, 1 foot table, opting for a little bit of style, getting that 450 over the hip, and that is time for Joji.
All right, a good full run for Joji Mizogaki. He is shaking his head.
He had a little bit of everything in that run, and he definitely shook his head because I feel like he's got a little more in the tank that he can bring us on his next run. There was a look at the double bar spin. It looked like he was almost trying to set up for a triple bar spin, and that's a hard thing because you have to be so committed with those hands. There's a triple right there on that spine with the 360, and I love that pocket air right there where he kicks that tail whip. And take a look here as he just dips out that 360, turning the bars slight past 90 degrees for some extra style points. And that's what's really cool about Joji. Even though he's doing some tricks that we see some other riders have done out there, he's given it a little bit of his own style and flair. And when you can kind of have your own voice, that's a very important thing. It distinguishes you from the other riders because they're trying to do their max tricks to get the max points, and sometimes the style can wind up being compromised a little bit, and we're seeing Joji pull a little bit from all sides.
All right, 73.80. That's all right. He seems to think it's a fair score. So that is our last rider for the first run. We are back at the top of the list with Paul Thurlen from Germany.
So Paul is currently sitting in 8th place with the 76.20. I know he's going to want to up the ante. I got to say, I loved his riding. Obviously, we don't have any effect on the judges' scores. I'm hoping that he's able to move up the points a little bit more. Let's see if he takes a different approach. He's kind of saw what the judges were looking for, and we're going to see drops him from a lot of speed up on top, getting that transfer again. So he's going to go with a similar format to start, and maybe he'll wind up throwing a few more tricks in his run.
Barrel roll.
Yeah, Tholen right now. There's that tire slide. To get that on top of that subwall, you have to be traveling so fast. So Tholen, we're seeing him just paint the picture of perfection as he alley-oops beautifully into that pocket corner. You're seeing the way that he has such control over his bike and just able to moto sideways, grabbing the seat. There's the finesse, 2 for 2 on that inverted foot plant. But Tholen has this finesse that no other rider we've seen bring here to the FISE in our final, and it's just really putting that emphasis on style over the pure number of tricks. So Tholen bonking to toboggan, final thoughts with the bar spin from the nose bonk, and it looks like this is time. That tire slide, I believe, is after the buzzer, but the crowd out here loving Paul Tholen's style and finesse on the bike, Dom.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, great example once again of a German rider with German precision. It runs in their blood, doesn't it?
It really does, and I know that the coach, Tobias Vicky, is a precise rider and definitely gave some pointers. Look at the beauty on that fast plant and then throwing that can over the top tube like that. Tholen, as I mentioned, rides with the fast and loose crew. They're actually going to be premiering a video project that he's been working on. Magnetar coming out soon, so keep your eyes peeled for Paul Tholen beyond this FISE UCI event. But right now we are looking at this flip over the hip. I love the way he just drops the shoulder, finds the landing, and then here we go. A great shot right there as he just puts his foot in that small little sub box. There's only a foot to work with. It's about 10 feet high off the quarter pipe. Tholen just finding it, spotting it, planting his Vans on the wall, and then dropping right back into the quarter.
So a 78.30, a slight improvement for Paul Thurlen for his second run. Next up,
Kevin
Kevin
to have seen Paul a little higher. Would have loved to have seen Paul a little bit higher up there for his riding, and that style rewarded a little bit more, but he did look great. And we do have the world's best who are battling it out and putting their all out here. So right now, Kevin Peraza on course, 360 can-can, 360 bar spin to getting some style inverted, unturned down. Peraza, the BMX family, is in his blood as he spins with that 3 variation across. 28 years old. Shout out to his wife, Itzel, who is cheering him on. Big toboggan riding for Mongoose. Vans, Bell Helmets, Ethica, Demolition Parts, and Struggle Club. Yes, there you go. Hitting his front peg on that Smith revert out of the wall ride. His back wheel was on the wall. His front peg was on the edge right there. Peraza with the 180 tail whip. Yes. That is how you rack up some points. On the front wheel. Yes, getting that G-turn technical before the buzzer.
That is some Peraza riding right there. And always, always, always finishing on that part of the park to be able to go say hi to the crowd. The crowd absolutely loves him here in Montpellier.
I don't know how.
Yeah, Peraza has so many fans. If you want to see Kevin next week, he will be at the Bentonville Bike Fest with Mongoose, where he's going to be riding with a lot of younger riders at an AmJam. And I say that because he's such a good ambassador for the sport of BMX. We're watching his pro riding right here as he transfers again with that Superman C grab, this time landing a little higher onto that quarter pipe. And he's able to stick a tail whip after that double tire wall ride, downside 360 whip, and the perfection there as he just kicks that can. That is what it's about. It's style. Peraza oozes it. BMX, as we mentioned, in his blood. His dad is a lifelong rider as well, along with all of his brothers. And we're seeing Kevin balance up on that front wheel. He was one of the first riders to ever bring that G-turn to a contest. And he wound up just getting that rotation, finding the pivot point, and then just popping right into the transition. You see him throwing up the love for Mexico and for the fans here in Montpellier.
Yeah, I think he loves the fans as much as they love him. But how can you not enjoy watching a guy like this ride with this style, with this attitude, always has that signature smile on his face, goofing around for the camera every single time. I mean, I've never, in 10 years I've been coming here, I have never seen this guy look grumpy, no matter what happens.
No, Kevin always has a good spirit, and you mentioned signature. I'm going to take a moment and talk. Kevin was riding actually in his signature Vans shoes, and I say that because he had an input not only with his bike, but also with the clothing, the design, the footwear, and him giving his own artwork flair into it is such a big part because that's what his style is on and off the bike. So an 82.50 from Peraza. He's going to be sitting in that 4th spot. Very good showing for Mexico for Kevin.
Next up, another rider that we know can deliver some high scores from Japan, Rimu Nakamura.
Rimu Nakamura was riding in the Tokyo 2020 games. I know he'd love to be there in Paris. Again, this is a big reminder that these are points race for the qualifier, which is yet to be determined who will be there, but there will be 24 riders. If you want to find out more information, you can log on to the UCI website where we break down our global contest series, our points, current standings, and more. But right now, Rimu with that 720 bar spin variation, go ahead and set up and wind up flying into our elevated section of the park. No-hander, downside 360 tail whip. Look at the flair and the style, inverting the bike sideways. 360 double bar spin, halfway mark for Rimu. Double tail whip, looking good, landing clean. Can step through. Come on, Rimu. Japan right now is cheering him on as he goes up and over and looking to set up big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sticking it.
10 seconds, Rimu, 10.
So he's got his final thoughts coming up. Bar spin over that volcano. Big flare, going nice distance. And that is going to wind up being time right there.
That is it for Rimu. This is more the kind of run that we know he is capable of. Had a little mishap on his first one. Let me remind you that Rimu was 4th overall in the 2022 rankings. So it gives you an idea of the level of the guy.
Yeah, and you know, he's been riding since he's been so little. He actually got his first bike sponsor, Sabrosa, when he was 7 years old. So he was always one of those young kids that you saw and were like, oh my God, he's so good. What's he going to be like when he's older? Well, he's an Olympic athlete. And the cool thing about Rimu is that he wanted to help the younger generation get out there. So he actually his signature bike comes in small sizes, 16, 18, and 20 inch. So it's very cool to see that he's supporting with Sabrosa the future younger third generation riders, not only in Japan, but worldwide, and giving them a quality bike that they could get on and ride.
Yeah, that is so important to have for the youth and for the kids to have good gear to practice on, because if they don't, there is no future generation that can prepare properly. So the score to beat right now is an 88.20 by J2E. Is the run from Rimu Nakamura going to be enough to beat that? We're going to know in a few seconds. The judges are still putting their score together. Suspense is high as always, and we have an 85.0, and that brings him to the second place for the moment in the overall standings. Next up, Daniel Sandoval from the USA. Also a rider that we know can deliver a massive run. Had a little mishap in the first run. Now pressure is on, but he knows how to handle it. Let's see what he's got.
Sandoval coming in hot from X Games that just happened a few weeks ago, and he actually got himself a gold medal in park, so he has what it takes to be on top of that podium. He's been putting a lot of time in riding at his own personal skate park known as the Sandlot, as Sandoval drops in, charging. Yes, big height going. The first rider, like we said, backwards up that step up. Hard to have the speed, and Sandoval right now is sending it as he works to have his magic go on that transfer with the flare bar spin. Big no-hander coming in for that step up, Dom.
Yes!
Double decade, 2 for 2. Oh, off to the side, but Sandoval able to keep it together. This is going to be important if he could get his throttle pulled back and get his speed back going.
Yes.
Front flip flare transfer.
Come on, Sandoval.
That's so important. It shows that Sandoval can act on his feet and just make changes to his game plan when needed. But let's see if he can keep it going. Wrapping around that head tube. Getting that flare, transferring off the side. Sandoval having a little difficulty spotting his line as he got 5 seconds to go, looking for a few more points, throwing down that flare. And that is going to be time for Sandoval.
Taking a breather, a well-deserved breather. Oh, the ties got really tight on that one, because that 60 seconds is a long time to be going at 100%, especially on the park that is massive like this. But he did a good job on his run.
Yeah, 60 seconds can be such a long time. You see that he's winded, his legs even potentially cramping out there. A lot going on. Thankfully, Sandoval, though, this time did get full use of the 60 seconds. You see that brotherhood there is Kevin Peraza. Look at that 540 flare, getting the bike fully extended in body to find the landing. Here is a look at that front flip transfer, aka the lawn dart, coming in on the quarter pipe. And you got the look at the downside 360 bar spin to tail whip over that spine. And here we got Sandoval with the double decade 2 for 2, but this is where his run took a turn, and he was thankfully able to keep going, but that was not the landing that he wanted.
Now you could see, I think his right foot was not on the pedal. It was on the bike, but it was not on the pedal. So impressive that he could keep it together despite of that. And you can see Mr. Nyquist in the back here, also waiting for the score of Daniel. What is it gonna be? Definitely looking better than for the first run.
Nyquist is out here as Team USA's coach. He was also riding in the qualifier. So we're psyched that Ryan Nyquist, legend of the sport, still heavily involved riding every day, but also giving his hand in some of the riders, sharing the experience.
So we have an 82.10, which puts him in the 6th position for the moment.
All right, keep the action
All
going.
right,
Run
next
number 2
up,
from Mr. All Smiles.
looking
This
forward
is
to go.
Irek
Big smile, Irek Rizaev.
Here we go.
Start things
Yes,
up. That's a
the height is
helicopter.
just getting cranked up on that first hit. Look at the pocket right there. Tail whip the tough no-hander. I love seeing the confidence for Irek as he is just juicing that quarter pipe to set up with the speed in order to get those tail whips around.
720 tuck no
Yeah,
hander.
big no-handed 720. There you go, getting the foot jam.
Keep it going, Irek.
Transferring off exit stage right, bar spin up.
3 downside.
This is going to be important if he can keep the flow going and try to put so many tricks in right here. Backflip, toboggan to turn down. Great use of that spine. Those are 3 unconventional tricks that you
Truck
put
over
together.
TP. 3 double down.
Come on, what do we got here?
Come on. 7 seconds to go.
I know he'd love to get a
After
full
one more
run
turn
together,
down there.
and it looks
That
like he's
will do
going
it.
to work it out. Irek
Mr.
Rizaev
Irek
keeping the tires down on the course for the full 60 seconds.
Taking a
Monsieur
moment
Sourire,
for
messieurs,
the
dames.
crowd.
Always with the smile on the face.
You know, the riders here, they're doing it for the scores, obviously, but FISE is well known for its crowd. So, you know, often they're also doing it for the crowd, and that crowd being with so much energy, it gives a boost to the rider when they know they have the support of thousands of people right in front of them. They can hear them, they can feel them. It makes a massive difference for the riders.
It really does. That energy is everything. And if you haven't joined us before in Montpellier in person, please start planning your trip now for next year. This is one of the best events, not only in action sports, but just in general. There's culture, there's music, there's festival, there's just party, there's energy, and there's BMX freestyle. So what more could you want? Come join us next year. And if you aren't joining us or following us yet on social media, you can do so at FISE World, or you can check out our YouTube channel. It's just at FISE, and you can see so much great behind the scenes footage, back contests, all different events, and stay up to date on all the riders and happenings. So you definitely want to be doing both of those things.
Comme je vous le disais toujours avec le smile, le pote Irek.
Waiting for the scores to drop, and it is a 79.10.
La 10e place
Not
provisoire
quite
pour Irek,
enough
thanks for
to
enjoy
be
prize to
in
you.
the top, but still in 10th
79.10,
place at the
79
moment.
points pour lui.
Things can still change.
il nous en reste encore un.
Obviously, we still have one rider in this heat, Joji Mizogaki, and then we have one more full heat of the 6 riders, so a lot can still happen. Here we go for Joji Mizogaki from Japan, dropping in now.
Allez, 186 stop.
Yeah, I like the tech little intro right there. Hitting his front peg in that Smith stall. 17 years old, as we said, riding for Federal Bikes, Vans, Oakley, Byrne. Setting up, let's see if he's got that style on that 3 toboggan, and he does. It's all about little details of his riding as he tweaks the bars past 90 degrees, dipping that front end down backwards over that spine, excuse me, over that extended box jump step up. It's a lot more difficult when you float into the takeoff because it's steeper. That's what we said. There's no traditional box jump out here, and when a rider has to find that line, it's difficult to do. But right now, Joji making it look good as he's getting some tech points up as he exits out of the elevated portion of the course.
1 foot, 1 head.
Looking for some kind of end cap, one-footed table style, bar spin 450 on the hip, and that is going to be time for Joji.
Again, quite a good run. Is he gonna better his score? He had 78-ish. I don't have decimals, but around 78 for the first run. Is this run going to be enough to be a little bit better? Let's see what happens. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the score, we're just gonna watch a couple replay. I love to see the
right there.
beginning of the run with a little bit of an addition, a stylish addition.
Yeah, well, you're seeing right now the bike control, right? Right there, he was able to then wind up grabbing the front wheel and getting the toboggan. It's just about the finesse that we're seeing out of Joji, which is really great, especially on that nose bonk 360 over the spine. It's just those little attentions to detail, but it is hard to mix sometimes those finesse tricks with the big ones, and we're seeing right there his wind up going to be a 75.90 will be his score right there.
So it's not quite enough to stay in the top positions, but still a beautiful run. We're going to watch the highlights of the heat we just saw while the next riders are warming up. Back on the course. Here we are back for our last 6 riders for today. This is going to be a very, very interesting heat. We have some big names. We have the top 3 riders from the 2022 overall standings, and some more surprise and some big names. There's going to be some big tricks throwing right here at Montpellier. Look at the crowd. Everybody is ready. They got the message that it was time to go watch some BMX freestyle park action.
Yeah, Dom, things are definitely going to be on fire here in our 4th and final heat. As we mentioned, 24 riders qualified, and we are going to be running this semifinal as the final because of some potential weather conditions out here. These next 6 riders we're about to witness all qualified in the top spot. So, technically speaking, they have more of a commanding control of the course than the other riders we've seen so far. So that's why the action most likely is going to get turned up past 10 and just going to be on fire. So right now our first rider who's going to drop is Sean Garnell, representing Team Great Britain. So he is dropping in, 28 years old, Mafia Bikes, Applied Nutrition, and getting cheered on by his coach, Jamie Bestwick. Let's see Garnell ripping things up with that downside 360 tail whip bar spin. He definitely has that ability to rotate both ways. We saw the bars. I believe that was a triple bar spin 360 up on top of the step. Big floating no-hander. Backflip with the tail whip. Very clean re-entry on that step up. He's at that halfway mark. This is going to be crucial if he could keep things going. Look at the 360, float it with the bars. We talk about his rotation whenever we mention Sean Garnell. He has that ability to go both directions. You almost have to in this day and age, but he does do his spins in a non-conventional way for a rider, setting up for some tricks depending on how his feet are positioned. And right there, he went off the side of the course. And thankfully, Dom, he was able to keep it going, but that was not what he definitely intended.
No, and that's the kind of little thing that the judges can see, like when you do your full run with intention, that everything clearly goes according to plan. It shows a lot of control, catching, being able to catch it and keep going. It shows also a lot of control, but it's still not quite what he wanted. So we shall see what it brings as of scores. So at the moment, the top score is still J2E's 88.2. That is the score to beat. It is a very high score, so it's going to be a tough one for these guys. Pressure is on.
It really is. And the fact that J2E had that score where he focused a little bit more on big, bold tricks and didn't try to throw in as many tail whip or bar spin combinations or tricks below coping. He just really maximized it with these big show-stopping tricks out there. He is a performer with the Nitro Circus. That was very, very highly received with the judges. That's why he has that score of the 88.20. And it's going to take a lot of consistency because we see that his score didn't have any crashes. The one he did was after the buzzer. So the fact that this is an Olympic qualifier for points for the Paris 2024 Games, that is going to be important to note because the judges do want to see a rider really be as close to perfect as possible, and they're going to be heavily penalized if a foot slips a pedal or if they don't land just right.
All right, so we saw that Sean Garnell had 61.2 as its first score. There's room for improvement. Next up, Declan Brooks.
All right, 26 years old. He is a bronze medalist at the Tokyo 2020 Games, the inaugural kickoff for freestyle being an Olympic sport. And Team Great Britain rider Declan Brooks with a double backflip, clean re-entry. I love the finesse on that wall ride, no pedals taken for Declan, and I just highlighted that because it shows how smooth he is to set up for that 540 flare. Big shout out to his girlfriend Beth, who I know is cheering him on. Also Lee and Kelly, his parents, who are really supportive as he does a 360 no-handed backflip over that extended box. That was a huge trick. So difficult to do because of that steep takeoff and very, very steep landing. Declan always has a unique approach on the course. He has a tendency to just pick it apart and then find his own little flavor. And we're seeing that big backflip, bar spin, excuse me, I believe that might have been a one-handed X-up, no-handed 360 across, and that's a full pull for Declan Brooks.
That was a strong run. That was some really, really good tricks. Look at this.
Doing it for Mafia Bikes, TSG, and Profile Racing. Big double backflip. I had a chance to talk with Declan before the event, and he said that he's going to go big and go fast, and he stuck right to his game plan because he had that big double backflip, so clean and smooth. And look at the wall ride right there. He just had a little bit of style right there, and it just showed that he was in control. He hit both tires and then just did a nice little kind of moto in. But right there, that no-handed 360 backflip, that was really one of his big tricks that just spoke volumes of the course and was able to adapt on the fly.
So Declan Brooks on your screens at the moment, who just went for his first run. Will what he did be enough to beat J2E's 88.2? Such a different set of tricks, but we shall know in just a minute. The judges are deliberating. They are putting together the scores. They have a really tough job to give numbers, put numbers on the performance of these riders, and they are taking this job very seriously, of course. So we have an 84.2, which brings him to third place in the standings for the moment. Pretty good score.
All right.
Next up is going to be Kieran Riley, another UK rider.
This is Kieran Riley.
Dropping in.
Dropping in, 21 years old, riding for Tall Order, and also joined with the Adidas this year. Big ups to him, pushing his riding forward and professionalism. Kieran Riley, the only rider to do the triple flare on a quarter pipe. And look at that variation of the 720, fully committed for Kieran. Let's see where he's going. Double backflip in the middle of his run. That was insanity. Kieran charging. You can hear Montpellier loving the team Great Britain riders. He's coming in over that step up the back end. The tail is going around. Kieran is on fire right now. Big shout out to his mom and girlfriend. They were cheering him on, saying, "Go, Kieran, go. Get this last 10 seconds. These are going to be very important." Kieran hopping up. Here we go. Final thought. Double tail whip.
Yeah.
The buzzer for Kieran Riley.
That was a well put together run for the UK rider. That is the kind of run that we are looking to see at this point in the competition. We have the top riders right now because this is a reverse order from the qualification. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff we want to see.
Wow. Yeah, Kieran right there putting all his chips on the table, pushing them in on the felt. And look at this, the bar spins double time. And then coming in with a lot of speed and momentum on that double flare. That's 2 times around on that quarter pipe. The only rider we've seen do that thus far in the competition. Full commitment. Had to wind up finding his landing. He gets it clean. And then 360 double tail whip to bar spin. The fact he was able to do that after the double flare shows how confident and controlled. And then he had the 720 with the whip. Big tricks for Kieran Riley. Let's see what the score is going to be.
All right, we have an 86.80. Insane that we are still not beating J2's score. That means quite something. I mean, this was a very strong run with very technical trick, but now keep an eye on your screens. This man right here could be beating everybody. Logan Martin is on course.
Logan Martin, the Tokyo 2020 BMX Freestyle gold medalist, charging right now, doing it for Australia and the Gold Coast. Logan is known for his dialed precision and tricks where he's able to just be so precise. Watch Logan, how he barely takes any pedals and he's able to just land and keep that momentum and flow. You even see right there, he didn't even take full pedals. He just adjusted his speed a little bit. And now with 23 seconds, he's got the gas back on as he's up high on that flare bar spin, 360 double bar spin, racking the points up as he hit both of those spines. That was very important. Now he's charging back. What? That was crazy to kick that many tails over the extended box and then getting the alley-oop 540 flare for the finish. Good run for Logan.
That is a Logan Martin run the way we like to see it. It is clockwork, it is precise, it is absolutely beautiful. I was expecting no less. from Logan Martin.
Logan, he's a 5 times X Games gold medalist, 2 times world champion, and we mentioned he has that Olympic gold medal. Take a look right here as he just gets so corked out and sideways, bringing it back in, dialed, as he spots the landing, doing it for Australia. His coach, Wade Boots, definitely psyched on his rider as Logan Martin gets that big flare transfer. And look at the bars as he just spots right over his shoulder as he came in and then linked together both of those spines for the points and had it come together. Big shout out to his wife Kimberly, his son King Noah, and his daughter Luna. They're definitely the foundation of his life and riding and fuel him on.
We are waiting for the score for last year's overall winner, and I have to mention, here we go, we have a 92.0 for Logan Martin, which puts him as the new leader of this UCI BMX Freestyle World Cup Montpellier final. But this is not over, people. We have a Frenchie on course. We're going to hear a lot of noise from the public. We have Anthony Jean-Jean ready to drop in.
We are witnessing a dream come to reality and fruition. Anthony Jean-Jean, before he rode, he came to the FISE in Montpellier and said, one day I want to be here. And right now we are witnessing Anthony Jean-Jean representing France as he is letting it rip with that massive pocket air tail whip variation, putting multiple on. Jean-Jean charging back, having the support of the Southern French.
Bar spin to top. I can't hear you, Montpellier!
So Anthony is taking the park by storm, linking trick after trick after trick, barely is over midway through his run, still has 20 seconds to go. Let's see what he's got in his back pocket to finish his run.
Big bar spin transfer. X up. Under 10 seconds.
Oh!
Three,
2, 1, and that is over for Anthony Jean-Jean. Here, the crowd, oh my God, so much love for the French rider, and that is some well-deserved love. As Daryl was saying, it is a pure maiden FISE rider here. He has been coming to FISE since the beginning of his career, and this is where he learned to perform as well. And you see that it is possible to be in the crowd one day, to be a young rider, and to say, okay, I have this one goal of being riding with these guys on the course, and one day I will be doing it. And now he is. He was a child when he first came here. Can you imagine? So he is the example. If you have one goal, set it and just follow it.
Jean-Jean really making his country proud as he is super committed, and what we're seeing is a battle royale going down not only here in our final for our World Cup, but also on the international points. We have Logan Martin, who's our current points leader, and Jean-Jean is sitting in second place, and we're going to wait for this tense moment to see which rider. Is it going to be Australia on top, or will Jean-Jean be able to bump him off that top spot? Logan Martin rode just before and got a 92.00, so that's going to be the score that's going to have to be rewarded to Jean-Jean to move him out. You see Logan Martin on one side of your screen.
Oh, so close, 90.60, which still puts him in second place. The riders have not said their last word. We still have one rider to go in this heat for the first round, and then all 6 last riders that you saw will be back on the park to perform their second run, so a lot can still happen. Now, about to drop in Marcus Christopher from the USA, our last rider from this heat for the first round now.
If anyone could mute the other 23 riders' scores, it could be Marcus Christopher, because he was our #1 qualifier coming into our final. What? Look at the height, Dom. No other rider has gone that high on the transfer. Marcus Christopher from Canton, Ohio is just fueled and fired out on this course as he is letting things rip. He is just putting it all on the line. Marcus right now looking back at height, charging into our step up, going backwards. That is such a tall takeoff, over 12 feet. Flair with the whips, and unfortunately not getting the wheels right back under him and sliding out to the side. That is very unfortunate.
That is unfortunate indeed. The good thing is he has a second chance to pull his run together in his second run. So we're gonna quickly watch a little replay, wait for the score, and then we are back on top of that list of the last heat.
Dom, I just want to focus how big that backflip bar spin to tail whip was over that extended box. It's steep on both sides. Most riders we saw having difficulty doing any tricks over it, especially in qualifying. And right there, he threw out that massive, I'm not even going to call it a hammer. It was a sledgehammer, backflip bar spin tail whip. So that is definitely rewarded very well with the judges. Obviously, having a crash is not. So he's going to have another opportunity. He's going to have to get his head in the game, take a few pointers from the USA judge, Ryan Nyquist, of how to do so. But Marcus Christopher has definitely been on a good tear lately. He just got an X Games Japan Park bronze medal last week. So he's in a good spot. He's feeling good. He's doing it for DK Bikes, Duo brand, and he's been riding a lot at his backyard ramp in Ohio that he just put a new surface on. So he's been so focused and so dialed, and we're going to see if he can really make that happen in his second run when it's going to count.
So we have a 53.10, not surprising. We're going to want to see better than this for the moment. Now back on your screens and on the park is Sean Gornall. The score to beat is a 92.0 by Logan Martin. Will Sean Gornall be able to get a run that is worth more than 92? We shall see right now.
I know right now his partner Jody, along with Hetty and Charlie, are cheering on Sean as he gets that tail whip all the way across to that pocket, setting up for the 360 bar spin to no-hander, smooth right into that 360 backflip. Unfortunately, his foot coming off a little bit right there. You see he's a little flustered. That bar spin wasn't as smooth as he wanted, but he's able to recover. Yes, wrapping around the top tube. Sean is on it. He's got 30 seconds to work his magic. He did the backflip tail whip, spots the landing straight into that flare. 360 bar spin. Come on, Sean. Up and over that massive triangle. Ah! So unfortunate. So unfortunate. So Sean Gornall going down, but getting lifted up by the spirit of FISE Montpellier, the crowd. Just showing their love and support for our riders out here. Look at that decade around the top tube. You saw his back end just stayed paused, and he held on to the handlebars as he wrapped around the front end of the bike. But look right here, he had that trouble with the bar spin. Thankfully able to get his hands back on the grip. That is not a position you want to be in, but it's impressive that he recovered so quickly, wasn't phased by it to wind up having that decade go on. Unfortunately, Gornall going down, so that score is not going to be a podium contender, but we love seeing Sean here in the final, and we're always cheering him on.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's so much pressure for the riders to be here, because not only is this a big competition, not only is there a massive, massive crowd watching you, you are against the best in the world, but it also counts towards the Olympics in the end. So, you know, there's a lot to deal with, even mentally. That's on top of what you need to do to be able to manage physically. So he keeps his score of 61.2. Next up, Declan Brooks. Declan had a nice 84.2 in the first run. All right, Declan, what can you give us this time?
Declan was telling me he loves this course and he's looking to turn things up, this time with a no-handed front flip. Again, currently sitting in 6th place. And it looks like he had a little bit of difficulty right there. That's unfortunate for Declan. So it looks like he's going to wave that run off. All right, well, Declan, it didn't go his way. It looks like he had a little bit of trouble out there, unfortunately. So his first run is going to be the important one. That was at 84.20. He's still sitting in 6th place. I got to give a big shout out to Declan Brooks, always one of the favorites in the finals. He has a unique eye for the course where he puts together his big tricks, but also finds those unique fast lines. I know he's been putting a lot of time at his back home at his skate park, Adrenaline Alley in Corby. He's been riding a lot out there, which has been very cool. And again, he wanted to give a shout out to his girlfriend Beth and also Lee and Kelly, both of his parents, who are psyched following this rider's career as he grew into the Olympic bronze medalist and looking to be in Paris for the 2024 Games.
All right. Next rider will be Kieran Riley. He also had a pretty good score on his first run. He had an 86.6, but now the score to beat is 92. Let's see what he's got.
Yes. Kieran Riley currently sitting in 4th. I know he'd love to be on that podium, so he is going to be turning up the heat if that's even possible after seeing that double flare in his first run. Kieran Riley setting up for something big. Getting that 720. I believe that was a double whip. A little hard to see from our perspective, but we will have that slow-mo into a double flare. 2 for 2 on the double flare. Riley right now in the zone. 30 seconds as he is charging back for more. 360 double bar spin over that extended Spox.
He makes it look
easy.
easy.
Is just going wild.
He makes it look easy, Daryl.
Come on, Kieran. Well, he's got to keep that cool composure for the last 10 seconds. Is going to be very important if he wants to be on the podium. Kieran jumping up, getting a little bit of loose, but he's going to be able to tighten things together with the tail whips at the end of the buzzer. Team Great Britain is in the house, and Kieran Riley getting a huge round of applause from the crowd.
With reason, that was a insane run. There was a lot of technical tricks, a lot of big tricks, a lot of whipping all over the place. We should have counted all the whips for the total of the run.
You can counter out for our highlights right now because there was a lot of them coming around. Look at that. That was a 720 double tail whip. So crazy to do 1, 2, and then putting his body. Look at the commitment right there. His body is contorted beyond a vertical position, looking over that shoulder. And here's a look at the double flare. We are just seeing Kieran Riley turn things up in his second run, trying to up that ante because he wants to be on the podium. There's a 360 double bar spin with that transfer coming off that wedge, and then he was able to set things up into that 360 triple tail whip right there. And then here's another look under the hood of that double flare. So committed. Do that in your middle of your run is absolutely bonkers.
So he keeps an 86.80. I am surprised that the second score is not higher, but I am not a judge, and they are professional. They know what they're doing. He is still, I believe, in 3rd position at the moment. So Logan Martin going for his second run, trying to beat himself.
So Logan wants to put some distance between him and the other riders because he knows he has 2 more riders who beat him out in the qualifier who could potentially take it away from the Australian. Logan up and over with that no-hander setting in.
Wow.
Yes, so stylish right there. Off-axis 720 with the tail whip variations, coming around, spotting that landing. Logan charging back at us.
Oh my gosh, opposite flare whip. That was
Kicking
awesome.
things around, Logan flying up. And the thing is with Logan's riding, he almost doesn't have a regular or opposite. You can hear it being called by our Catfish MC on the course. It's crazy because he's just so dialed and smooth. He does left and right so big and so in control. Kicking that tail whip around 3 directions. Again, he has the ability to go in his non-traditional direction like he did right there, but it's just dialed. You can't call it for either way for Logan, except perfect.
We normally all have one side that looks awkward. Logan Martin has no side that looks awkward when he's on his bike.
So incredibly hard.
Yeah, he's picture perfection out there. That's why he's the gold medalist at the Tokyo 2020 Games, and he wants to be here in first. I mean, you have 5 X Games gold medals, also 2-time world champion, and he wants to do it for his Australian mates out there. And you saw when he turned to one direction, and if something's called regular or opposite, it's usually the direction that you wind up kicking it with your foot or that you're turning on the quarter pipe. But again, you can't even with him. It's just so dialed. That way he turned to the right, that's why it is the opposite. If he went to the left, but again, Logan's dialed. He's a whole new breed of rider, and that's why he's been on top for so many years.
So we have a same leader, new score at 94.24. This is gonna be a tough one to beat, but if someone can do it, it's Anthony Jean-Jean, especially with the support of the crowd.
You might have to adjust your volume right now because we are gonna hear the crowd bring it up higher decibels than we've seen and heard all day long. Anthony Jean-Jean, we talk about the dream becoming a reality. He was just a fan of BMX in the crowd many years ago, and now he is doing it for France. Look at the height, hitting the pocket. What? That was insane. I believe that was 3 tail whips. Potentially, you never know with Jean-Jean 4. We're going to have to see that slow-mo breaking it down. Kicking it across the tail whips again. Many variations, getting it going. Jean-Jean flying back at us. Looking to step up with a big combo right there. Dom, the tail whips are insane that Jean-Jean's throwing down.
And the crowd is absolutely going nuts.
Jean-Jean looking to keep the perfection going. What? First rider we've seen do that transfer all competition. That's the originality, bringing it out when it counts. And that is time. Jean-Jean, knowing that he needed to have something up his sleeve if he was going to potentially beat Logan Martin, who's currently sitting with a 94.20, and having an original transfer like that might do the trick.
So much emotion in Jean-Jean's face, and a lot. Look at this standing ovation from the crowd. People got up because they got so excited by the energy and the tricks that Anthony Jean-Jean put in his run. I am really looking forward to see the score on this one, Daryl, because that transfer was out of this world.
All right, Tom, get your tail whip counter out for me because this is what we got going on.
All right, let's see.
Look at the height right there. So beautiful. High, perfect.
1, 2, 3, triple.
All right, keep it going because he's got a lot of different variations. Here we're going to see in another angle.
So impressive.
There you go, 3 times around.
How is that
Such
even
good
possible?
riding for Jean-Jean.
Look at this transfer. Nailed it.
And the double tail whip. And the double tail whip. It shows you that he's just so dialed right there. He was able to do the transfer no one else did in the contest and then had the double tail whip.
All right, our score to beat is Logan Martin's 94.20. They are both looking at the screen, waiting for the scores to drop, because Logan knows, oof, this could make me move from my first place. Will it? Jean-Jean's asking the crowd for support, puts a little bit more pressure on Logan Martin. What will we have? And 91.8, so it keeps a second place, but I mean, this is still a very good score.
You hear the crowd right there. They are in favor of their fellow Frenchmen, wishing that that score was a little bit higher, but still very impressive. All right, if one rider can top them all, it is our #1 qualifier from the United States, coming out of Ohio, doing it for DK. This is Marcus Christopher.
Pressure is on for Marcus. Didn't complete his first run.
Marcus had a crash in his first run. Look at the height on that 360 backflip over the spine. Whoa, huge height on that transfer. Look at this, having that another sledgehammer, the backflip bar spin to tail whip. Marcus Christopher, 360 bar spin, spotting that landing. Looking back. Watch the clock. This is crucial right here. He's at that halfway mark, Dom. Kicking that big tail whip flare. Dropping in. Come on, Marcus. Here we go. Yes, completely pitched over that front wheel as he gets that triple tail whip in. 720 with the look back. Getting that 540 flare up high on the quarter pipe. Kicking a whip. Come on, Marcus. 5 seconds to go. Going in his non-traditional direction right there. And that is time for Marcus Christopher.
And that was our last rider for today's BMX Freestyle World Cup final here in Montpellier. Gonna watch a couple highlights while we're waiting for the judges to give the score for this run of Marcus Christopher.
720, late look back, right into a 540 flare.
Wow, so we got Marcus Christopher bringing some big hammers. Look at that 720 twist in the look back. You saw that he had to put his feet in a position to get his pedals out of the way and his legs. Looking back, then going for that 540 flare up on the quarter pipe. So Marcus Christopher, Team USA being represented. You see he's a little bit winded out there. And he's going to have to try to beat Logan Martin, who's sitting in that top spot with a 94.20. Will he be able to do it? And a lot of big things in his run, especially the height on that 360 backflip right out of the gate. And he had that massive sledgehammer, as I call it, the backflip bar spin to tail whip over the extended spine, which is a huge thing to do because we don't have a traditional box jump out here. Most riders played pretty timid on there. But Marcus Christopher came out with guns blazing, trying to make it go.
So we have Logan Martin on the screen. We are hearing that the podium is getting put together on the park while we're waiting for the judges to give the score to this last run of today. And it is a 90.0, which means we have Logan Martin as our winner, followed by Anthony Jean-Jean and Marcus Christopher in third place. What an amazing competition today, Daryl.
Unreal to see the progress of BMX. Let's take a look right here at our results. The 94.20, Australia's Logan Martin. And then you got in second, France's Anthony Jean-Jean. And rounding up the podium is going to be USA's Marcus Christopher. All three riders in the 90s. Followed by, we had Jay Tui, Kieran Riley, Rim Nakamura. And we are working down through the pack. Big ups to all 24 riders who just came out with guns blazing, making this event happen and so special, putting it all out on the line. And our crowds absolutely love the BMX here, Dom.
Oh yeah, this is, I mean, BMX has such a special place at FISE. So we have our overall standings right now. Logan Martin is in first place after winning the first stop in Diria and today in Montpellier with a total of 2,000 points. Marcus Christopher takes second in the lead for now, followed by Jose Torres-Gil and Kieran Riley. So we're going to take a look because this is not it for the BMX Freestyle Park World Cup for this year. We know we're going to have an event in beautiful Brussels, so let's take a look at the teaser for that.
Brussels, who's ready for some BMX today? Get loud for me. Get loud for me. Hands in the crowd, we tearing it down. Get loud for me.
We are back on the park. I mean, I'm really looking forward to see the Brussels event. It looked like a sick venue last time, and I'm believing that it's going to be the same, if not even better, this year. All right, so we are getting ready for a podium. It is so good to see Logan Martin back on the top spot. He's been hanging on to that top spot for years now, Daryl.
Yeah, I mean, Logan is just in a class all his own. Let's take a look at the winning run. So keep in mind, this scored him a 94.20 as Logan drops in. The height right there, deciding to stay on top of the elevated course, didn't jump out of the spine, put a few points in as he just gets the height off axis, throwing the bars with that 720 tucked right into his lap, off axis. But watch the way that he lands. He pumps down. You saw that coming in off that big, tall pyramid where he just pumped into the transition, and he's just so smooth with his landings. No pedals, flowing, floating, and then he just has these off axes in both directions that he spins, just like that flare going in his right direction as opposed to his left. But like I said earlier, he doesn't have a regular and he doesn't have an opposite. He's one of the only riders that you could put in that category because it looks so good in both directions, and he stepped up the game of BMX for everybody out there as he just is so dialed, and everyone's been trying to play catch up the last few years. And Logan right there showing you why he got that 94.20 and why he's on top of the podium here at FISE Montpellier.
Yep, absolutely well-deserved first place for Logan Martin today. I mean, with a run like this, you can only stay at the top. Look at that technique.
Yeah, through the bars, and you saw that he was able to then tuck the bike right into his lap to get that speed coming around. And there is that flare tail whip to his right direction. And now we're watching those whips come around and then catching it very clean right there. And I believe that was actually in his traditional direction. He has the ability to kick those both ways as well, especially with that triple. Not many riders can do that, but Logan does, and that's why he has that 94.20 top of the podium.
And you could see Darren in the replay, I don't know if you noticed, but there's one of the tricks where he landed with his foot a bit off the pedal, but to the inside. And even just that, you know, when you are on your bike, and if you guys doing any biking, that can throw you off, but it didn't.
And now we're here at the podium ceremony. Let's do this, shall we? In third place from the USA, Marcus Christopher.
So Marcus Christopher from the USA taking third place today at FISE Montpellier.
In second place from right here in France, Anthony Jean-Jean!
Listen to that crowd for the French rider, Anthony Jean-Jean, who takes second.
And your FISE Montpellier 2023 BMX Park Champion from Australia, Logan Martin!
Logan Martin climbing once again on that top spot of the podium here at FISE. Your winner, ladies and gentlemen, of the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Montpellier stop, Logan Martin.
I know Australia's proud. Also, Logan's wife, Kimberly, his son, Noah, and daughter, Luna. That is one way for their parent. Proud papa right here, Logan Martin, making it happen for Australia. Very cool to see, Dom.
Marcus Christopher, Anthony Jean-Jean, and Logan Martin.
So we're going to have, as usual, a quick winner interview by our MC Catfish.
You've got a super busy schedule. What kind of pressure do you put on yourself before coming to these events?
Yeah, look, I obviously, you know, I work for this. There's a lot of progression happening in BMX right now, so I've got to keep pushing myself and continue working hard. And yeah, I mean, when I come here, I want all the hard work to pay off. And yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself too, you know, to achieve these outcomes. 10 years ago, I think this weekend, I won my first FISE Montpellier. 10 years later, I've done it again. It's pretty epic.
What do you have to say to all your fans out there? You got a ton of fans. I see the support online. What do you want to say to all your fans that have been supporting you through all this?
Oh man, I appreciate it. It's you know, it helps out a lot. It helps motivate me, and it's just good to know that yeah, people out there, you know, want to do this and you know, ride a bike, and people look up to me. It's pretty special.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, another win under your belt. We'll see you in Brussels, ladies and gentlemen. Logan Martin.
Logan Martin, everyone. So that was your BMX Freestyle Park World Cup Men final today. I'm Dom Granger. I was here with Daryl now. Thank you so much, Daryl. That was awesome to witness this in your company. And we will see you all in Brussels in just a few weeks. Once again, thanks everyone for watching and have a great time.